Satchidanandarupaya Vishvotpatyaadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditarataschaarteshvabhignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayonmulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Parerishwaraha Sadyo Hridyavarudyate Trakritibihi Shushrushubistakshanat. 1 minute to invoke toughness and evoke hope. Hari Om and greetings from Niagara Falls. Our Puranas focus on education. This is a tool to teach us educationally. Our itihasas are historical. A tool to teach us historically. Our Veda is philosophical. A tool to teach us philosophically. Educational, historical, philosophical. Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the final expressions. Some share this is the final work of Rishi Vyasa. Rishi Vyasa is the one who volumized the Veda, who wrote the Mahabharata, and of course Srimad Bhagavatam. So by studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we're really studying the Veda, Mahabharata, all of the Puranas. So this is really buy one, get three. So out of all of the courses that you can be in, this is the best bargain. Skanda 8 focused on growing from good to great. From dharma to sadharma. This is facilitated by GPS. The Guru Parampara system is the catalyst that takes us from good to great. Without the Guru Parampara system, we will be good, undoubtedly. We will not be able to grow into greatness, into sadharma. Follow the GPS. And by doing so, you'll start to flow into greatness. Sadharma is not by one's own effort, but rather the effort of one's guide, one's creator. You have to flow into this, build this momentum. And we have examples. Gajendra, the focal point of the narration of Gajendra is humility. Greatness is being humble. Next, Indra. The narration on Indra, the focal point, generosity. Smarana is humility, Dana is generosity, a sign of greatness. Then Mahabali, the focal point here, integrity. Pratignya, what he said, he followed, a sign of greatness. And finally, Satyavrata, the focal point is security. He thought he was secure, but you can't finally be secure without the grace of the Creator. Humility, generosity, integrity, security. When one lives this, that is Sadharma. This skanda is no longer theory, is application. The word Bhagavata. Ta, boat. Va, best. Ga, go. Bha, light. The best boat to go to the light. Where is this light? Where is the light that forms this word Bhagwan, Bhagavata, and on and on and on? This light is inside of us. These 18,000 verses are really 18,000 angles of a mirror to show you carefully your nature is illumination. For all of those who are studying Aparoksha Anubhuti with me. To study Srimad Bhagavatam, you begin with the Mahatmya. Why? The Mahatmya nourishes quietude. Like the lights going down before a movie, this encourages one to get ready. The Mahatmya is a prayer. Skandhas 1 and 2 are to encourage or nurture identification. Identification with Raja Parikshita, Rishi Shuka. If you identify, this becomes more real. If you disidentify, this becomes less real, less relevant. Skandhas 3, 4, 5 nurture belief. These skandhas focused a lot on logic, creation, for one to believe more. Skandhas 6, 7, 8 are to encourage, to nurture faith. Belief tends to still be outside of you. Faith is for this to become closer. Where is the light? You are the light, to have faith in that. Now, skandhas 9, 10, and 11. These are the biggest sections of Srimad Bhagavatam. You evolve from belief to faith and faith to trust. these skandhas are going to nurture trust. And skandha 12 is to nurture knowledge. And let me complete this before we get into the skandha. Do you believe I have a pencil in my hand? You're saying yes, but you're not getting where I'm going with this. Do you have faith that I have a pencil in my hand? Do you trust that I have a pencil in my hand? Do you know I have a pencil in my hand? See, you know this. Do you believe you are light? Do you have faith you are light? Do you trust you are light? Do you know you are light? So we're building up, we're nurturing being infinite, independently joyous. Srimad Bhagavatam began with Raja Parikshita asking, what should a dying man do? Everyone who's a dying man, put your hand up. Those who don't have their hand up are not listening or are not thinking. What should a dying man do is really, more deeply, what is the purpose of living? Who are we? What are we doing? And the answer is given to contemplate. Contemplate on Swarupa, the light that is you. If you can't, Vishwarupa. If you can't feel yourself as consciousness, then contemplate on the Creator. And if that's not possible, then Ishtarupa, which is to contemplate on creation. The highest form of contemplation is not outside, on an outside entity, rather is inside, on who you are. But we start with creation because we're extroverts. Another word for creation is prakriti. The word pra means material, and kriti means lots. From this material, lots happens. Lots of forms, lots of names. Gold is like the pra, the earrings, the bangles. That's all the kriti. Yes? Understood what prakriti means? When you feel creation is separate from the Creator, you will feel sadness. When you feel creation is an expression of the Creator, you will feel happiness. This is why we always visualize that Bhagavati Parvati and Bhagavan Shiva are together. When one wants Bhagavati Parvati, or maybe Bhagavati Sita as a finer example, without Bhagavan Shiva or Bhagavan Rama, then who are you? Ravana. Ravana existed in Treta Yuga, Ravana exists in Kali Yuga too. But when you feel that oneness, Bhagavati Parvati, Bhagavan Shiva, Bhagavati Sita, Bhagavan Rama, then there's joy, there's confidence, there's love. When we come to love the Creator, all of creation will remind us of the Creator. Yes? If you really love an artist, a song, you feel all songs are actually tuning you back into that song that you love. For those who love their parents, love their families, everything reminds you of your parents. When you go shopping, you want to buy things for your family, right? Go deeper than creation. When one does this, one is developing Nirguna Bhakti. Nirguna Bhakti, in a technical sense, means loving the divine without a form and a name. No gunas. But in terms of Bhagavatam, what Nirguna Bhakti means is to love the divine only. So that means you have to neglect your family. You have to ignore community. Remember what I said. If I love divinity, my family is going to remind me of that divinity, correct? Me serving my community is really me serving my divinity. Nirguna Bhakti. One gauge of knowing if you're nurturing this is whatever you're doing, you're not doing as an exchange. You're doing this for this. I think that's called quid pro quo, yes? Our American friends. There's no quid pro quo. We like to say that. But is there? As long as there's an exchange in your intention, more vasanas will be created. One vasana may end, but another will begin. With Nirguna Bhakti, you only love. There's no exchange, so that's actually how our vasanas are exhausted. Our vasanas are transcended. The 9th skanda is about stories of the Creator and those who love the Creator. This idea of loving the Creator, what precedes this is trust. When we have details on those who love the Creator, how they think, how they live, we start to feel this is possible. But if you don't know those details, you think this is all theory. And one salient point you will find with all of the personalities we meet in this skanda, they were most clear about what's important. Their viveka was sharp. Prioritization was confident. And so, the 9th skanda is sometimes called Vamsha Anucharita. Vamsha Anucharita, which is the tracing of Vamshas, which is a family, which is a lineage. In particular, the Surya Vamsha and the Chandra Vamsha. Who is the personality we know most from the Surya Vamsha? Bhagwan Rama. And from the Chandra Vamsha, Bhagwan Krishna. The Surya Vamsha ended with the Mahabharata war. The last of the Surya Vamshis was killed in this war. And the Chandra Vamsha ended with Kali Yuga. So both of these lineages are over. So I come back to my earlier point about the Purana is not just educational, but is also historical. So Vamsha Anucharita. Now another description of this skanda is Isha Anukata. Isha Anukata, which is the details, the narrations of the Creator and those who love the Creator, as I just mentioned. Those who love the Creator are called bhaktas. A bhakta is one who's absorbed in Bhagwan. So as we go through this skanda, you will get to meet great bhaktas like Raja Dilipa. We'll get to meet Raja Harishchandra. Raja Sagara. You've heard of these names before. Some of your kids are named after these personalities. All of them were absorbed in Bhagwan. And so, Vedantically, this skanda is about Vasana Kshaya. If you go back to the 7th skanda, that was called Uti, I believe. And I said Uti is your seed, your blueprint, your Vasana, and how evident this is. But when one studies Vedanta, we're trying to transcend that seed, that blueprint, that Vasana. That's brought out in this skanda. And I've already shared how to absorb oneself in Bhagwan. That is the only way to be free of vasanas. The 8th skanda was called Saddharma and also Manvantara, which is what happened in the ruling of Manus. The 8th skanda related to the 1st through 6th Manus. This skanda only focuses on what happened with the 7th Manu. Okay? 8 was 1 through 6, and that was important. But during this Manvantara, this ruling of a Manu, more important. It's like a magnifying glass. You're going from 1 magnification to 10 magnification. And how this begins, the last personality we met in the 8th skanda was Raja Rishi Satyavrata. Do you remember him? I said we should all live like him. He was born again as the son of the sun. And so his name was Shraddha Deva. Shraddha Deva. And he more popularly was known as Vaivasvata, which means the son of the sun. Okay? He never had a child. He was married to Shraddha Devi. Shraddha Devi was married to Shraddha Devi. And they never had a child, so they were engaged in disciplines to have a child. And when the moment came that a child was going to be secured, Shraddha Devi took a strong sankalpa to want a girl. And her sankalpa was stronger than Vaivasvata's. So born to them was Ila. And that's a popular name, a powerful personality. Now when Ila was born, Vaivasvata, he wanted to have a boy. See the dynamics of relationships that are highlighted in Bhagavatam. So he approached his Acharya, which is Rishi, Vasishta, and said, Ila has been born to us, but I want to have a boy. And Rishi Vasishta, out of generosity, he said fine. So he actually converted Ila, a female, into Sudyumna, which is a male, a deva. Fascinating, no? And this becomes more fascinating, okay? So Ila was born. She was converted into Sudyumna. See how liberal our Shastra is? Now Sudyumna, he's a Raja and he's wandering. And he wanders near Mount Meru, where Bhagavan Shiva is with Bhagavati Parvati. And Bhagavati Parvati is sitting on Bhagavan Shiva's lap. You always see them together. And when she sees Sudyumna, she feels bashful. People don't understand that they're one. So Sudyumna and all of the people who are wandering with him all become Devis. they all get converted into females. So Ila, then Sudyumna, now Sudyumna's back to being a Devi. And Bhagavan Shiva, so much love for Bhagavati Parvati, he actually set up a force field that anyone that comes in this area will be converted into a Devi. Awesome. So now, Devi Sudyumna continues to wander and ends up at the ashram of Rishi Buddha. Not the Buddha that we're familiar with. That will come later. Rishi Buddha starts to fall in love or rise in love with Devi Sudyumna. Now that's a very confusing circumstance, yes? Am I a Deva? Am I a Devi? And so what's so lovely about this is that it's not important. And Devi Sudyumna is confused about this, so goes back to their Acharya, that's Rishi Vasishta, and says, help! So Rishi Vasishta earlier turned Ila into Sudyumna, and now Sudyumna is back to a Devi, so he said, enough. 1 month you will be a Deva, 1 month you will be a Devi. And so that's how all of this was resolved. And I think this is so fascinating, both in liberality as well as the fact, whatever sex you are right now, whatever gender you are right now, most probably you were the opposite or different one in your earlier incarnation, reincarnation. And the same will happen if you don't get enlightened in this lifetime. The same will happen in your next reincarnation. So should you take what you see in the mirror so seriously? Should you live by any ism? Sexism, genderism, racism? How subtly our Shastras share. More details pass. One I want to highlight here is so many family members are discussed. There's one Raja, his name is Vishrava, and he knows the art of invincibility. That's shared. So all of the Marvel comics, all of the DC comics, the origination of that, our Guru Parampara system, they already knew about invincibility. And more details are given. Now, trace this lineage, because this will become what we're going to study more this week, next week. Manu, the first human, had a child named Nabhaga. Nabhaga had a child named Nabhaga. And Nabhaga had a child named Raja Ambarisha. How many of you have heard of Raja Ambarisha before? Okay, excited? I'll tell you some insights into Raja Ambarisha. First, you have to know what kind of seeker he is and what happened, because then you know why what happened. He's a Raja, yet it was quite clear that everything in his kingdom, including being the king, is like a dream. When you wake up from a dream, all that you have and all that you are, where does it go? Where it came from nothingness to nothingness. Are you like that? Yeah, I'm like Raja Ambarisha too. He feels that everything in his kingdom is just earth. And that's true, isn't it? Where do diamonds come from? Earth. The components in your iWatch, where did they come from? Earth. True? We keep getting lost in creation when the creation is actually the creator. He was one who loved prasad. Now we're like Raja Ambarisha. But he loved prasada because he felt that this was the grace and guidance of the Creator. When you consume prasada, do you feel the same way? You're just thinking, I hope we can go back for the second serving of prasada, correct? Or how come so many raisins? I want more chocolate chips. But he never felt like that. He felt that this is grace. So he was known for enjoying prasada. His ministers, the filter to become his minister was you had to be a bhakta. Imagine on your next school or job application, please check if you're a bhakta. You won't get hired. That's the way the world is. But it should be the opposite way, no? That you love the Creator. And that's so special because if you surround yourself by dussanga, your decisions will be like that too. But if you're around those who know what's important, your decisions will be like that too. He, as I said, loved Bhagwan only. So one prasad that Bhagwan Narayana gave to Raja Ambarisha was his Sudarshan Chakra. The Sudarshan Chakra you see on Bhagwan Narayana's finger, that was actually at the service of Raja Ambarisha. That any harm that would come to him would be cut up by this Sudarshana Chakra. Now we're all thinking, but how do you see that? How do you feel that? Trust. When you trust someone, you don't feel you're going to be harmed. Yes. When you trust someone, you don't harm them. So you can visualize this chakra outwardly, but I want you to feel this more inwardly. Raja Ambarisha's narration relates to the Ekadashi Upavasa. So let's open up these words. What does Upavasa mean? Share with me in the chat room. What does Upavasa mean? Vivekji means sabudana and aloo. It means Jain food. Upa means near. Vasa means sit or live. So Upavasa means to live near. Then Ekadashi. Ekadashi means 11. After the new moon, as in darkness, and after the full moon, as in light, the 11th, this discipline begins on the 10th night actually. On the 10th night, you eat once. On the 11th day night, you don't eat. And on the 12th day night, you eat once. Understood? So really, this is more like a 3-day, 3-night living near. So on the 10th, 1 meal. On the 11th, 0 meals. And on the 12th, 1 meal. Why one's supposed to do this is to check themselves. To check, are you dependent on food or are you independent of food? And now we're going to deepen this. This is not just about a meal. This is about all that you input and output. You have 10 sense organs. 5 of perception, 5 of response. Agreed? And who's the boss? Who's the 11th organ? The mind. So Ekadashi Upavasa is you only use your sense organs, including the mind, for what is absolutely necessary, fundamental, that which is required to be a bhakta. So, is a McFlurry required to be a bhakta? Are YouTube videos required to be a bhakta? So for this 3-day period, you go to extreme extreme simple living. And with that simple living, you have the bandwidth for high thinking. What an awesome Upavasa, Ekadashi Upavasa. And Raja Ambarisha was engaged in his Ekadashi Upavasa, and he had to have that meal. He had to break his fast on the 12th day, but circumstances were not allowing him to. So what happened? Oh.